Welcome back to another edition of the Final Whistle podcast. And today, this is kind of another episode of the Sideline View, but without the boys because it's really early here in the US. And Marshall could not make it along with Robert. But it's also late for Miz because of the whole time difference. Because please remember, people, Miz is all the way over there in the land that we should not go because of all the animals, Australia. Because I'm never going there. Miz, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. You should come to Australia, man. It's nice. It's very beautiful. Don't worry about the animals. They're far away, far away. So, nah, man, you should try and visit. It's been good, man. I've been good. Looking forward to this, man.
Okay, good. And this is a continuation of the series, the season review. Um, I will be dropping a transfer show either later today or midweek because I kind of want to. We're gonna discuss all the topics from Gittins to Garnacho to Joao Pedro. So look out for that. But we continue with part two of the season review. Before we get into the new fun stuff, including the Club World Cup. But Miss, I don't know if you saw the last episode with Eunice, but we discussed everything from preseason all the way up to the third time we had from December onward in that little middle gap there, which kind of almost lost us top four.
Mhm.
And we got knocked out of both competition, domestic cup competitions at the time. What were your thoughts around from the draw at Everton moving into the loss to Fulham and Ipswich Town?
Man, that's going back quite a while now. So forgive me if I don't remember everything. I'm not very good at memory as I'm getting older. The memory is starting to
Starting to
be a bit
fade.
fade. Yeah. So, but I do remember the Everton one. You know why I remember the Everton one? I actually remember for all the happy stuff that I was up to at that time. I was actually on a trip to Fiji with my family. So I remember because I remember I couldn't do the watch along because I was having the best time of my life at Fiji. But I remember that Everton game that we were not going to be performing to our level because I don't know if you remember, Javon. This is one thing I remember just before that Everton game. The Mudryk news broke for the very first time. So
Mm.
his drug doping
Yeah,
business.
the drug scandal.
Uh,
I call it the drug scandal.
yeah, the drug scandal dropped. I think few days, maybe 3 days, 4 days before the Everton fixture. And I remember we had our all you can eat Chelsea episode. At that time, we were still at Matisse's channel. And I remember all of us saying, nah, you know, it's business as usual. We should just, because we were in a good momentum. We were in a good
Mm.
momentum. And, everyone was like, no, we should go and win this. I
2 points
was
off
probably
top at the time.
yeah, there you go. I was probably the only one that said, look, my only concern is when there's a bit of a dark cloud, bad things end up happening. Yes, the Mudryk news shouldn't really bother the team because that's on his own accord. But I just felt that something like that type of news could potentially have a negative impact just behind people's back. You know what I mean? Like subconsciously, it might affect them.
Yeah,
And
because at
then
the time, because I think at the time we were at a state where anything bad, the team would fold.
yeah,
Any little
like
thing bad, the team would fold.
and we were in a good momentum, so we don't want any bad clouds. Like when you're in a good momentum, you just don't want any bad things to hover around you. Um, and that was my worry. I remember that was my worry. And then we ended up drawing, and apparently, because I didn't watch the game, I saw the highlights later on. I was on holidays. Um, Everton had opportunities as well. They could have won. We had opportunities too. Jackson, I remember fluffing his opportunities in that match. But I wasn't too upset. I was like, do you know what? We're still in a good momentum. things like this happen. You drop a point here and there. Everton's very difficult to play against away from home. Um, and I moved on. I was like, we'll move on to the next fixture. But little that I knew at that point that that match was the catalyst of bad things to come from there on.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Our downfall at the time was very imminent because I remember going in to that fixture. I remember going into that fixture. I said to myself, "Look at the fixtures we have. Look at the fixtures we have. If we are not at the very minimum second going into the City game,
Mm,
it's a failure of the team because we had already gone through some of the difficult fixtures, i.e., Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal. We came out with a draw or a close loss, and we're keeping
mm.
close to the top of the table, right? So I'm
Yeah.
saying to myself, we've got this. We've got this wholeheartedly. When we lost to Fulham, I'm like, you know what? Fulham at the time, they're an unpredictable bunch. We were at home, but
Mm.
I'm like, you know what? Fulham. But that 2-0 loss to Ipswich, Liam Delap putting in a performance which would and ultimately get him a spot as a number 9, as a starting 9 for Chelsea later on, as we saw in the future. I lost it. I think that's what that was at the time I stopped doing reviews simply because I was so too angry and I was not about to yell at the camera every single time because I'm not just that type of person, right? And I'm not going to come here and look at my supporters in silence because we both know what happened, you know.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you were processing this at the time because for me, watching your videos from your channel, you're like, they almost got me. They almost got me to believe that this team was good enough. I tell you guys, he's not good enough, and then he started dressing down players.
Yeah.
So, what was it like for you at the time?
It was the feeling was, oh no, here we go again, like
Mm-hmm.
surely not another season like this. Like under this ownership, first season was abysmal, right? Second season was also very, very tiresome. And then again, are we here again? That's what was going through my mind. I remember that Fulham loss. We were winning. I remember we were winning 1-0, and then uh, everything sort of changed in the second half, and we capitulated, and I think they ended up beating us 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, Everton, no problems. We drew. Shit can happen. Lost now against Fulham off the back of being in front. That's never a good look when you're in front and then losing to a comeback
At
uh,
home.
at home, and London derby. You can obviously say it's not good. And then the way we got bamboozled by Ipswich, that's when I was like, yeah, I think we're in for a bad run now. I think we're now well and truly in a bit of a mess because you can let go of one performance, you can even let go of two, but then the way we got ripped apart by Ipswich, and we did get ripped apart to a team that we were their first win, I believe, right? We were their
Mm-hmm.
first
Yep.
win at
Mm-hmm.
home, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, in one hand, I was like, well, there you go, the rise of Liam Delap. Yeah, it was a great audition for him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were saying that on social media as well. But on the other hand, I was like, yeah, where does this season end up going for us now? Where does the wins pick up? Because I was under the impression that those fixtures, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, being only 2 points away from Liverpool, I was looking at those fixtures that, okay, capitalize,
Mm-hmm.
January window, upgrade, bolster, and really go for this title now, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it all fell apart, Javon. It all fell apart. At that point, it was like, oh shit, not this. And then came the whole January shenanigans of Shia Felix doesn't want to stick around, Renato Viga doesn't want to stick around, and Kunku
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want. So that Mudrik news that everyone keeps forgetting,
That's what you're pinning it on.
what was the start of this nonsense that we started seeing in that period. And then all of a sudden, the window last summer, we got all of these players, and all of them wanted to leave. So, nah, man. At that point, I was very disappointed, very very disappointed.
Yeah, because that goes back to what we saw in in preseason when the dopamine hit, so everybody was happy that we signed a backup left back. We signed in Renato Vega. We signed Joao Felix. We thought we had a backup or competition for Palmer, depending on how he was deployed. We signed Pedro Neto. We didn't sign a striker, which was my main aim. We did sign Mark Dew, but he wasn't good enough to back up Jackson or challenge Jackson. And then we saw what happened during this time, because during this entire rough patch, Jackson fell off form from what we saw earlier in the season. Because if you remember earlier in the season, he was scoring goals, his link up play was well. And we're like, okay, maybe you have improved. We were wrong. We are horribly wrong. It was just
Yep.
a purple patch at the time. That coupled with not bringing in any January signings, that with looking at how our defense was, because we drew with Crystal Palace, we drew with Bournemouth, we lost 3-1 to City. The only win we picked up in January was against Wolves. And at the time, Wolves were a poor team. So this whole this whole section of us being poor can be contributed to Maresca, lack of transfers, and also Jackson. Now, I want to hone in on Jackson there for a minute because we see what's happening currently. What are your honest thoughts on Jackson through this period and what you make of it now? Because I'm done. Get this brother out of my club.
Yeah, look, Jackson actually, for me, he started to show in the early parts of the season. He was actually starting to show me some improvement. I think the peak of all of that improvement I felt was when he played against Newcastle, when we won against Newcastle at our home ground. That performance I felt was a very strong performance from Nicholas Jackson and from a few of the other players as well. And I thought, okay, he may not be that polished striker that we are looking for, but he has all these other attributes that mean a lot to our game. It's got pace. He can carry the ball. He can link up. His hold up was somewhat getting better as well at that time. Um, his intelligence of dropping deep and then carrying the ball and really kickstart a threatening move, that did, I did appreciate that. I know his final third was never good. Like his final third decision making was still lacking. But at that point, I was like, okay, maybe, just maybe, something's brewing here. A good player is developing. But then that period that you've just mentioned, where we were going through a poor form, he was one of the main contributors as well. He was missing like gilt edged chances. Um,
If you remember at the time, not even his link up play was good enough.
nah, nothing was good. Nothing was good. His decision making was bad. His link up play, everything was bad. He was just dropping stinkers after stinkers, and he was missing opportunities. And then I remember the January transfer window finished and he got injured. He got injured
Mm-hmm.
and he was injured for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the injury, Javon, I don't think we ever saw him at a very good level again. Right before the season ended, there was a game or two where he played well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now you're right. I'm with you as well, Javon. So I still believe there's a very good player there, just not a striker type of a player. There are other attributes in his game that are very good, that can be a necessity in a team. But I think we've all got to a point where we need a serious striker up front, not just someone who can give us all these other things. We need a serious striker. And maybe, just maybe, he's at a point where it's the best time to let him go because we're going to get the most money out of him now. If we
Mm-hmm.
allow it for another season and let him decline, then we're probably not going to be able to cash in on him. So I'm with you as well. Maybe it's time to let him go.
Not maybe, it's definitely time to let him go because I was thinking, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully. What is the main job of a striker?
Score goals.
What is the priority for a striker?
Score goals.
So why, when we're having the conversation around Jackson, everybody's saying, "Oh, but he does this." All of that should be second nature. All of that should be the icing on the cake. Look at Harry Kane. His number one job being relentless and ruthless in front of goal. But you get that. But the additionals are the passes. The additionals are the link-up plays. The same thing with Benzema. Same thing with Suarez. These
Do you know
guys
what?
are ruthless, and then
Yeah.
their skills and abilities are the sprinkling on top as to what makes them better than the rest.
Yeah. Now, you pose a very, very interesting point here. Why do we look at Jackson's other attributes and not really hone in and slam him for not doing what he's meant to do, like all these other strikers do? Now, you've said a few names. Harry Kane, for instance. Let's start with Harry Kane. Harry Kane is part of a Bayern Munich team that is so well drilled. Harry Kane doesn't need to do half the things that he does. All the things that Harry Kane does only makes Bayern Munich raise the level higher, but his Bayern knows we've brought you in for the goals. But Harry Kane has a lot of attributes beyond just goals, right? But
Mm.
Bayern are not too concerned about that. Bayern just wants goals from him because Bayern are a team that can give Harry Kane all the other stuff, right?
That can create.
Yeah, and they have a game that is so conducive of getting the best out of a striker. You mentioned Suarez. Suarez has been part of some unbelievable teams where he doesn't need to do a lot of the things to gel the play. Nicholas Jackson's case, there's a reason why people look at all these other attributes because our game, Javon, it's my opinion. I think you might agree. It's not a complete game yet. Our game under Maresca is not a complete game. It's not. It's not a game where, okay, everything is so fantastic. All we need is a striker, and then he just bangs in goals. No, our game is somewhat incomplete, I feel, if Jackson doesn't do all these other things. You take away Jackson, no problems. There's no goal anyway. But now all of a sudden, the game looks incomplete. Every other bits and pieces that he was doing, now the team is sort of disjointed.
But he,
I think this
he,
is where Maresca needs to get to a situation where don't over rely so much on Jackson to make it a complete package so that he can actually focus on goals. I think that's where Maresca now needs to in this season. If he expects the same thing from Delap, Delap will start thinking, well, am I going to be focused on dropping deep, connecting this, that? When am I going to score goals? Do you know what
mm-hmm,
I mean?
mm-hmm.
So I kind of understand why Maresca needed to do that from Jackson, but I think inadvertently it probably affected Jackson as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're talking about the Hurricane at Bayern Munich. Hurricane's been scoring goals even from Tottenham, and Tottenham were in a situation where we were in where the system was geared to building Hurricane and him
That's
being the
true.
focal point.
That's true. That's
But
true.
that never stopped him from scoring goals. So what
That's
I'm
true.
saying is, a striker's main aim is to score goals. Even if he has to drop deep to do the link up play, to then still get back in that position to finish off that link up play,
Mm.
that is in a natural striker's instinct. And
That's
Jackson
true.
just does
That's
not
true.
have that.
That's very
Even
true.
if you want to factor in what Maresca has to do, we're I'm at this conclusion because Jackson has gotten into those positions and just has not finished.
Yeah.
So I get your explanation, but it's not valid in my opinion. Because
No, fully
at
agree.
that point
Fully
you're
agree.
at that point you're saying Jackson, we laud over Jackson's ability to do these things, and
Mm.
when he gets into the position, he's still scoring goals. At that point, your argument becomes valid if we're talking about the volume of goals,
Yeah. Yeah.
not the importance of it. Because when it comes into the importance, maybe one, two, or three goals he scores that I can recall that are important, but over the consistency of time, he hasn't scored that important goal. The goal that he should have scored against City in the Cup semi-finals to put us through.
Mm.
Over this
I
poor run of
agree.
form, he had a plethora of one-on-one or a plethora of chances to score a goal to give us the lead, which would have changed the game, which would have turned a draw into a win and a loss into a draw or a win. Those crucial goals which would swing the tide of the game. Even when we're playing, even when we're up against the cosh, even when we're not playing well. He just doesn't have the the veracity. Mourinho told Benzema years ago, you need to become a killer. There's no killing going on the field, bro. You will he's not going to be the next Benzema.
Yeah.
Mourinho would have sold him and shipped him long ago. And
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 I'm
you
go ahead.
and you're right. Like Chelsea Football Club needs a killer up front. We're not a club that's that just wants to dwindle around fifth, sixth position. We want to be serious. We want to be competing, and for the Premier League, for the Champions League, and for that to happen, you're right. You need a killer up front. That's just the basic requirements. Yeah, I think ultimately you're right, Javon. We've now come to a situation where we've seen enough, and it's time to cash in and reinvest the money on players that are actually going to do the job for us. So I think it's fair, but I also do believe that Jackson's not all bad, but it's just not something that we need at Chelsea Football Club. Yeah,
Hey, like and I genuinely believe this. Jackson, he's not all bad. He's not a bad player.
yeah,
It's just not what we need, and he's just not good enough
yeah,
for Chelsea Football Club at the moment,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Nani Madueke. I like the player, not good enough for our club at the moment.
Not good
You
enough.
understand? And I would say,
Absolutely.
and I was about to say the same thing with Pedro Neto till his performance is turned around. I said the same thing about Colwell earlier last season. Look at how things has changed for Colwell, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And they needed time, but we've given Jackson time, and that's a position we cannot give a certain amount of leeway to. At some point, you have to have a cutoff point and become ruthless, or it's going to continue to affect us. It's so much so, even when Maresca is having a stinker at the sideline, a proper striker can change the entire narrative with a goal out of nowhere.
yeah.
We get where I'm coming from, and that comes from
100%.
individual play. Individual play. Now, let's talk about Jackson, quote unquote, partner in Cole Palmer, right? We saw the goal drought or the GNA drought that Palmer went on last
Mm.
season. What do you think was the contributing factor to that? Because that coincided with the poor run of form that we had last season.
Mm. So that's probably one of the toughest questions to answer this season. A lot of people want to know what's happened to Cole Palmer. What's happened? Look, Javon, I don't know. I don't know what has happened. A lot of people have different theories. Some say, oh, it's the way Enzo Maresca deploys him. He plays boring football and it stifled him and this. And then I'm actually watching Cole Palmer in game. He's probably one of the most involved. he's always there. And he's everywhere. People say, oh, he's got him all penciled down on that right side, or he's on the left side, or he's only in the middle, or he has to keep. Every time I watch Chelsea Football Club play, Cole Palmer is literally everywhere. I don't think there's any restrictions for Cole Palmer where he can or cannot be in the field. I think it's a bit of a myth that Maresca's stifled him, or Maresca's
Pigeonholed him.
pigeonholed him. Every match, I kid you not, Javon, he is probably the most free man to do whatever he wants to do. So I'm not sure how much of it is Maresca, and people say, oh, it Maresca likes repetition. He doesn't want chaos football. Isn't it also safe to say under Pochettino, the chaos football took place because a lot of the opposition really didn't rate us tactically, and that's why they wanted to go toe to toe. Now look at the amount of managers that genuinely come out, whether it's pre-match or post-match, saying they've got one of the most sharpest tactical setup, and it's not easy.
Yeah,
and maybe now,
they'll be cautious. They'll be cautious when they come and play against us.
Exactly, which makes the whole chaos football very difficult, because when the opposition don't want to be chaotic, well, you can't just start chaos on your own, can you? You need the opposition to join you in the chaos to really create something substantial. Now, I don't know how much tactically he's been stifled. Me personally, I don't think he has.
Yeah.
I think
he still created the most chances in the league last season.
Yeah, exactly. I think where the issue is that maybe we forget he's young as well. Like he's like 22, right? I don't even think he's 23. We forget the fact that he's young, and we forget the fact that young kids will have up and down as well. He had an unbelievable season under Pochettino, had a very nice Euros as well. And okay, he's having a poor season. It's not good, but you can see, as you've just said, he's still created a hell of a lot of opportunities. If only we had players that would be able to put them away, his stats would look even better. And you know what, Javon?
And then confidence would switch. Just saying.
Yeah, confidence would switch. And do you know what the crazy thing is, Javon? His stats for this season are not even that bad. Like, I saw his goals and assists. They're still very good, Very, very good.
Still double figures in each.
Still double figures in each. So he's obviously created himself a standard which we all knew was going to be difficult to emulate this season. But he's created such a standard that if you're not close to it, people start to think, oh, he's a rubbish player. Me personally, Javon, look, I think there must be some form of mental fatigue. These players have played a lot of games. Cole Palmer has played a lot of games. That might have contributed, and they're still playing games, Javon. They still haven't switched off. Maybe what Cole Palmer needs is a good switch off. Just a nice big break. Go away, come back. And the talent is so clear to see that it's there. It's not like he's forgotten how to play football. The talent is so clear that it's there. Just needs that break to happen again. And I'm sure it's all going to click into gears. So, yes, his bad form did coincide our bad form as well at that period, which didn't help. When you expect a player like Cole Palmer to really carry you out of that rut at that moment, he was unable to do so. But I don't want to solely blame on a kid,
So the reason why I wanted to get your thoughts on it, it's because My thoughts are a bit different because he did try to get us out of his rut, but no one up front could convert.
Yeah, yeah.
As a man playing in the number 10, he's going to try and create more than he shoots, right? He's a shooter, but when you're putting balls or assists on a plate for people and they're not finishing their dinner, at some point you're going to become selfish, and at some point you're going to make the wrong decision out of frustration. So I give
Yeah.
him one of the biggest passes this season, if I'm being honest, because
Yeah.
when you look at the chance creation, you put better players in that position, and then we're talking about a whole different thing.
Mm.
We're talking about 3-0 game, 4-0 game. We're talking about running rampant. Because I went back and I looked, some of the chances he created are clear cut. Some of the chances that he created are half chances, but better players turn a half chance into a goal. You know?
100%. 100%.
So his entire forward line, he didn't help out. Yes, he could have done stuff a bit better. Yes, he could have made better decisions, but it's all correlated. Because if every day I pass the ball 2 yards in front of you for you to tap it home, and every single day you kick it wide, I'm going to stop passing the ball to you. Because what's the point?
And look, don't get me wrong, and I'm pretty sure the comment section will say the same thing as well. That there have been games where he's dropped stinkers. Of course he has. Of course he has. We're not denying that fact, but there's been games where he's dropped brilliant performances, has had nothing to show for it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
and we probably ended up losing that game as well. So
mm,
people don't look into those matches. People only remember the fact that, oh, but he didn't get a goal, he didn't get an assist. Well, assist depends on others. Like,
mm-hmm,
he's put it on the plate, and some of these players don't put it away. So, yeah, I would love to go back and actually have a look at. I think he hasn't scored a goal
mm.
this calendar year, right? He hasn't
No,
scored any goal.
he scored a penalty. He scored a penalty
Oh,
against
open,
Liverpool.
open,
Oh,
open,
open
open
play.
play goal.
He surely has, hasn't he?
A lot of people are saying that he hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go back on each and every one of those games and actually analyze, has he actually played bad in all of them?
No.
Or has he actually played bad in some, but people only remember those ones and they paint the picture with the same brush? So
It's the painting the picture of the same brush.
yeah,
Because I rewatched a couple. When I'm at the gym or whatever, I've rewatched a couple, and Cole Palmer, he has been playing well. Didn't get the assist, didn't receive the
yeah,
ball when he's supposed to receive the ball, and
yeah,
it's multiple facets to this argument. But I'm just
exactly.
what I'm saying is, you put better players around him, you get different results, and we move on for next season. So,
I agree.
so at the end of the season, we wrapped up. We saw where we one, kind of brought it back. I
Yeah.
like to say we retained our pulse. You know, we weren't dead. Coming
Oh,
into
we
the
finished
second,
strong. We finished strong. Yeah,
mhm.
that's what
coming into
happened.
the coming into the last half of the season. Coming into the last half of the season. What were your thoughts when we started to pick it up?
To be honest, I was very doubtful. I was very doubtful. Even when we started to sort of pick things up by getting that brilliant victory against Liverpool, we bamboozled them. Say what people might say, oh, they were drunk and they were hungover and they've already wrapped up the Premier League, this, that, the other. But we absolutely bamboozled them. Even at that point, Javon, I was doubtful. I was skeptical. Can we actually finish strong? Because our fixtures were looking pretty peak.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into the end of the season. Then we lost against Newcastle, which obviously further put doubts. But then after the Newcastle, I believe we won. We won every single one, right? After the
Yeah.
Newcastle one.
So it started with the Neto screamer. and the Tyreek George winner, I think,
against Fulham.
at Fulham, and then we rolled it with Fulham came to Everton came to town. We beat Everton 3-1 win against Liverpool. That kind of I will be honest, I'm optimistic, so that kind of brought me back. I'm like, we have a pulse, boys. We're gonna do this. And I said it,
Yeah.
I said it at Ali getting Chelsea. Going into the Newcastle game, I fully believe we were going to go to Newcastle
And do
and beat
something.
them.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna win, but a man that has been the topic for most of this episode so far showed his true colors.
Dropped the people's elbow.
He dropped the people's elbow in a must-win game, competing
He even did this.
for top four. And threw it away. Bro, that red card sent me to Mars.
Yeah.
It was unacceptable. You're going up against a rival at their ground. You're competing for the same top four spot. We could have potentially even finished third if we had won that game. Right?
100%.
Third or second? Because it was
third. I think third.
Yeah, we could have finished third potentially if we won that game. Luckily, our last two fixtures was winnable given the opponents we were about to come up against. But that Newcastle game was everything on the line. We had everything on the line. And I think even you were confident at the time based on the winning run we were on and how we were playing, because how we were playing changed as well. At that time, I said to myself, yeah, Jackson needs to go. Because even in the second half, 10 men down, we still played well.
We actually played really well. I think we probably could have scored equalizer before Bruno Guimaraes scored again. We probably played better without him. So, yeah, absolutely.
Which brings home the point now of, I hate to say it like this, but what purpose do you serve? What purpose do you serve? You got a red card. You missed the last two games of the season. Eunice is crazy. Eunice don't want an apology. Matisse is flabbergasted. Miss has given up on the season. We're not making it. But in comes Manchester United. And that was a hard game to watch for me because we almost didn't get over the line against United. Thank God for Super Kukurea.
Yeah. Lovely cross from Reece James and brilliant header from Kukurea. That was not a good game at all, to be honest. We were so poor, and Man United were always poor. In fact, I believe Harry Maguire had a goal disallowed, I think, initially. That would have made the whole situation very, very, iffy. Had Harry Maguire got that goal. Look, at that point, we lost against Newcastle. We just snuck a victory. I had a feeling that, I don't know, man. I don't feel comfortable. I was still skeptical at that time. I just needed to see where what the team can do and whether they can get over the final hurdle. But honest opinion, at that time, I was just, because those performances weren't filling me up with any type of excitement, Javon. Those performances by Chelsea were like, these are ugly performances, man. Like, yeah, okay, great. Ugly performances are still yielding 3 points. Fantastic. But how long will this last? Like, you got to play with a little bit of oomph, a little bit of, something about you. But look, eventually we got there. It wasn't the prettiest way, but we got there. So I guess that's what matters. But I was very skeptical at that time.
Yeah. We got there, and we beat Nottingham Forest. The celebrations were wild. we then move when we wrapped up the conference league because we're not about to talk about the conference league. We're always supposed to win that.
That was actually a
Let's
very good performance, Javon, man. The way we
and
came back, that was a good performance at the end. Yeah,
we
it's a
shouldn't have
conference
we
league, but
shouldn't have been in the situation where we had to come back though.
of
That's
course,
my thing.
of course, it's like this, Javon. Like you know, two heavyweight fighters in UFC. One of them is superior to the other one, but that superior fighter finds himself in a bit of a nasty situation that he didn't hope for. Like, hey, I shouldn't be in here, but it's the resilience of that superior fighter to then change it around
Mhm.
and come back and get the victory nonetheless when it looked like a little bit, you know,
Sticky.
sticky, right? So take aside the fact that it was conference league and we won the trophy, and look, ultimately trophy's a trophy, but take all of that aside, the way we romped back into that game, the way Real Betis looked like they were in full control,
Mhm.
but the way we turned that around and absolutely destroyed them at the end, I think that, you know, that was
Yeah,
probably
that
one
was
of our best, one of our better performances of the season.
yeah, that 4-1 win was really good. And Real Betis were in good form at the time when we played them.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
favorite, my favorite part about that was to this whole time, Enzo Fernandez had a really good run. He was scoring goals, he was
Yeah,
creating, he was
yeah.
relentless. Him and Caicedo, they put in the work. Dare I say, worth every penny. Um, and that kind of we saw that continue because we're now up to speed. We're now in the Club World Cup. Enzo Fernandez
Hmm.
scoring goal.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to climb the ladder. Where do you see us ending in the Club World Cup?
Well, I've maintained all throughout, before the Club World Cup started, throughout the Club World Cup, every episode in, All You Can Eat Chelsea, every video in my channel, I said we can win this. And this isn't being delusional or something. Oh, maybe there is a form of delusionism.
Just a little
What's
bit.
the word? What's the word? Is that even a word? Delusionism.
The
Um,
delusionism.
delusionism. Yeah,
Delusion. A little
delusion.
bit of illusion.
Yeah, I'm sure there is probably some form of delusion there, but I look at I looked at the entire competition, Javon. I looked at our group. Now I'm looking at our path, and in a one-off game, bro, anyone's capable of beating anyone else in a one-off game.
Mhm.
I had a bit of a concern moving into the Flamengo game.
Bro.
We lost, but I wasn't obviously I was sad, like upset that we lost, but I was like, I don't know if the team really messed up too much in terms of our tactics, but I think individuals messed up. And now, we're back again. We beat the Tunisian team. We beat Benfica,
Benfica.
who, bro, they had nothing. Benfica
Yeah.
had nothing. Do you know what I
Was
mean?
it was it Benfica or was it us?
Us as well. Us, we stifled them. We scared them. We scared them to the point where they were like, you know what? If we show too much of our card, Chelsea can rip us apart. And we did eventually anyway, but
Mhm.
obviously they had a man red carded. Even when there was 5 more minutes to go before the match was suspended for 2 hours,
I thought we'd have seen it out. I thought we would have
of
won 1-0.
course, of course we would have seen it out. Uh, At that point, Javon, at 85th minute, 1-0 up, I didn't see a single thing from Benfica. I didn't see a single thing.
Facts.
So I wasn't worried. I was just very upset that 2 hours of delay when we could have just played the match out. 2 hours of delay, and then they get this such an awful penalty,
Naughty.
which, okay, by law, it's a penalty, but someone needs to look at that law. Malo Augusto wasn't even looking at the ball. Man had his back to the ball. Ball hits his hand. I don't know about you, Javon. When I'm jumping, I need to jump. I need
Yeah,
to
you have
use my
to. You
hands.
have to.
I
Yeah,
gotta.
balance is for
No,
balance.
I've never seen anyone jump like this. Like, how do I?
Mhm.
I need to jump and use my hands to elevate myself, right? And then when you jump and you're coming down, obviously you're going to come down like this. I've never seen anyone come down like this. I've
Yeah,
never
you
seen
have to.
anyone.
You have to put your hands. It's a whole motion because you have to
It,
balance yourself.
it's just science, right? You got to
Mhm.
have your hands to balance, by the time you jump. So while he had his hand like that, ball hits his hand, it's a handball. Of course, it's a handball. It's a penalty. And then obviously, Angel Di Maria, this guy barely misses. He
Mhm.
scores. I wasn't upset at the team one bit. I was just upset at the whole circumstance. I was like, we were 5 minutes away from wrapping this nonsense team out. And now
Mhm.
here we are, you know, extra time, this, that, the other, unnecessary situation for our players. But justice was served. We got lucky with the red card, no problems. I mean, it was a second yellow, so perfect. But
Mhm.
man up, we destroyed them, and we thoroughly deserved to destroy them. And
Mhm.
now we've got Palmeiras, Javon. I've got no, I've got no doubts that we can beat them. No
Yeah, yeah.
disrespect to them. No disrespect. Brazilian teams are good. I've
Mhm.
got no doubts we can beat them. I've watched a lot of these Palmeiras matches this Club World Cup. They're a good
Mhm.
team, but they're absolutely beatable. They're not Flamengo. They're not
Mhm.
Flamengo. They are
Mhm.
beatable. Flamengo are beatable as well. We should have done the
Mhm.
trick. But yeah, man, Javon, one-off game. We can beat Palmeiras, go into the semifinals, and then from there, anything is possible. Anything is
Anything is
possible.
possible. I would love if we take care of business against Flamengo. Sorry, Palmeiras. That's gonna be in Philly. Can we actually? No, you have me believing. Can we actually win the Club World Cup? And then what does that mean for Chelsea Football Club? Because I don't see the transfer strategy changing. I thought it would, making Champions League football. But hey,
Bro, you made me believe. I didn't believe that our transfer strategy would change. I was adamant that these people are not going to change. But you made me start to believe that Miz, they said we made Champions League football. We're now going to get Champions League level of transfer business. But here we are. Obviously, we're not doing that. We are sticking to our policy. Um, I still do feel, and I know you're going to talk about all of that in a separate video, but I think João Pedro, I've watched João Pedro for a long time. So I think that's nice. Jamie Gittins, I feel a bit 50-50, but let's see. Delap, I rated, but needs another proper striker with him. Um, Winning the Club World Cup, Javon, it will start making me feel that the winning habit is back. It will start making
yeah,
me feel that
like,
because
even with the players we have.
even with the players Matisse always says, what we are doing right now is in spite of what the directors and the owners are doing, because this is
Facts,
players just, you know,
elevating themselves.
elevating themselves and building a mentality after being ridiculed at times all throughout the season, by me, by many fans and rivals as well. And I think this is where the players are just like, you know what? I need to show some pride. I need to show some pride and hold, protect my good name, basically.
Mhm.
So, Champions League football achieved by being fourth, getting into
Mhm.
top four, none of this fifth business, top four. Winning the Conference League, you can only do what's been put in front of you. We were put in Conference League, we won it. Get into the Club World Cup straight after the Conference League, and if you win it, wow, what an achievement! Club
Mhm.
World Cup is not a Mickey Mouse
Competition.
competition anymore. It's got a lot of quality teams there, and we're going to eventually start meeting them very soon.
And
You win
the
this,
prize pot is a lot as well.
Prize pot is a lot. It's a 4-year event now, every 4 years. So you get to keep that Club World Cup badge for 4 years. Bro, this will mean a lot. This will mean a lot. And winning the Club World Cup will start getting me to believe in this project and owners. Finally, I would say, I dare say, it would finally get me thinking, do you know what? Could Chelsea be the first club to do this policy and this project nonsense? And it could actually work? So, yeah.
I would start believing that when we can bring home one of the big, important, traditional trophies.
That's true. That's true.
Bring me a
Yeah.
Premier League. Heck, bring me a Premier League. Heck, bring me a FA Cup, and then I'll start. You know, Seamus, I can be with a FA Cup domestic trophy where all the big boys had a chance to win it and they didn't win it. So bring me a FA Cup or a Premier League. Dare I say even a Champions League, and then we'll talk. But on that note, I agree with what you're saying. Some heads would start to turn, but the traditional trophies will never go away, and that marks the caliber of who you are. Because look at Arsenal, second for umpteenth amount of years, and people are still saying Arteta should be at the helm. So people are saying he should leave. Didn't bring home the big one. He didn't bring home the Premier League, and he hasn't done anything in the Champions League apart from beating Real Madrid. So you bring home one of those trophies, and then we can speak, right? And on that note, I'm going to wrap it here because we've had a good discussion, and I want to save some of the talk for the transfer show that I will have. Thank you for joining me on the Final Whistle podcast, Miz. Please let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure once again. Another fantastic podcast with you, my man. I remember the last one was a banger. Hopefully, this one will be a banger as well. And yeah, the other side of the coin. Catch you guys all there. We're getting faster and faster to 50,000, so which is fantastic.
That's what's up, and that's where we host Look and Eat Chelsea now. Yeah. Please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, people. And with that being said, we're gone. Peace.